Hi lovelies! This today is not the video you were expecting. It's not my usual video, but it's a very important one.
Oh man. I just knocked over my camera! I'm picking it up. Sorry about that.
As we know, I'm a huge fan of LPS. I've made multiple videos on the topic, and let's be honest, I'll probably make more. LPS Tube is honestly how I even got into video creation in the first place. That was like one of the first fandoms I ever became a part of, and it still means so much to me, even if it's not like the main focus of my channel anymore, and I'm not technically an LPS tuber. So when I heard about what happened at LPScon 2024, I knew I needed to talk about it. I have far too much love and respect for this community to see something like this potentially happen again. Although I was not present, LPScon is a convention that I hoped to attend someday and dreamt of attending for many years as a kid. So it makes me especially saddened to see the experiences of people in the community and, what they experienced at this event. So with the help of people I was already mutuals with within the LPS community, like Gerrie Berrie and Daisy, aka Puppy Lover 863, I was able to gather various perspectives and experiences to hopefully shed light on this situation. With that being said, before we get started, I want to make a disclaimer as well. I do not condone any harassment towards LPScon or the people behind it. With this video, I'm hoping to foster a productive conversation and reflection on the things that occurred, but also just get more eyes on people's experiences, because this situation is quite messy and it shouldn't just go unnoticed, because then it could potentially be able to happen again. I need to stress too that since I wasn't at LPScon, I've never been to LPScon, so therefore the things I bring up are technically alleged. Now, before we talk about LPScon 2024 though, I want to give a bit of background as to what LPScon even is. According to the official website, LPScon is a yearly convention and meetup exclusively designed for and by littlest pet shop and toy collectors, LPS tubers, and LPS grammars, held in Las Vegas, Nevada. This event brings together all enthusiasts to forge new friendships, expand their collections, and connect like-minded individuals who share the same hobbies and passions. To me, what's always been so appealing about LPScon and why I dreamt for going so many years as a kid is it's something that started so small. It started with an idea, and it's been able to bring a community of people together who share this common interest, and I think that's such a beautiful thing to see. LPScon had humble beginnings in a small park with only 16 attendees and a 12-year-old host, aka the CEO, Nana. As of 2024, it has reached its 8th year milestone. In mid-2014, rumors were circulating in the LPS community about a possible LPScon, but no one knew for sure if it would come to fruition. Eventually, the rumors turned out to be true, and the first ever LPScon took place in 2015. Since then, the convention has grown and improved, becoming an annual gathering held in various locations over the years. See, in the past, although many of course have had way more positive experiences with LPScon in previous years compared to LPScon 2024, what I noticed immediately is that LPScon still had its issues. It was just never anything on the scale it is now. 2018 was the first year LPScon was held at an actual venue, with the con taking place as just a meetup in the park before this point. Luckily, the turnout wasn't nearly as big as it is now, which allowed this to happen, but Nana admits that she didn't realize she actually needed a permit to hold it in the park, and that's why 2017 became the last year it was held that way. But when talking about the past few years of LPScon, I'm going to focus on 2019, 2021, and 2022. According to a source I spoke to who attended LPScon in 2019, who will remain anonymous, some issues that presented in 2019 included VIPs being treated poorly, overpriced content creator tickets which lacked benefits, and issues with proper AC inside. Specifically in 2019, one of the VIPs, Music Girl Pro, was kicked from the convention last minute and told she wouldn't be doing a panel anymore. And the thing is, Eliza already had concerns with being a VIP, and via screenshots shared by her, we can see she actually wanted to step down from being a VIP, but was told canceling so last minute wasn't going to be possible, and if she really did want to step down, she'd need to pay them back $2,000 in return, which obviously she did not pay because that's insane, especially considering no receipt was ever provided to this day, so Eliza says she isn't even sure exactly what she'd be paying back $2,000 for, but essentially this put Eliza in a position where she felt forced to go to the convention just for her not even to end up doing the panel she prepared for. There was also some really bold claims made by Nana as well about things Eliza and her mom said or acted like. These are claims that Eliza claims to be false and claims that don't really have any evidence from what I could find to back them up. The only thing we really have to go off of is this very, very short clip of an altercation that would take place between Nana's mom, brother, and Eliza's mom and her. And you're probably wondering, why is the clip so short? Well, this is because the moment Eliza pulled out her phone to record, the brother and mom simply stopped fighting and walked away.
Keep doing it.
If you really want to bring...
I guess what's being posted is that, you know, it's resurfacing that there was a video of my mom. I love my mom. There's a video of my mom and my brother, basically, I guess, like, confronting Music Girl Pro and her mom. And this is not to be a little tea spill moment, but this is to address what happened and how we can learn from it. Let's start from the beginning. So, Music Girl Pro came to the event on Friday for setup. When she and her mom arrived, they were already very disgruntled, and I could tell just by the energy. I don't know, they just came to the event very, very disgruntled and upset, and I have no idea to this day why. Came to them, the first thing I said was hi, and just went off on me, just saying, like, how long is this gonna take? Like, this is ridiculous. Setup should not be this long. Is this seriously gonna take until like 4 p.m.? We just tell everyone setup goes from 12 to 4 p.m. You can leave when you're finished. We'll probably only be done like for an hour. We just want to make sure that you see the venue, that you have some alone time to yourself to go scout out the room and just understand, like, this is how the panel is gonna be. And then everything kind of became a problem. I don't know what it was that had made them so upset. All I know is that all I can read is the energy that I'm giving. So this just goes into, like, what can we do last minute to adjust? And that's what I want this to be a learning thing about. You know, sometimes you have to work with, like, someone who's disgruntled, and you have to see, like, in live time, you have to make a quick adjustment to the schedule. I made the decision, you know, that night to remove her from the panel and not have her as a panelist. So Saturday came, and I don't really know why, again, there were issues, but I thought we had left it at an amicable place from the text messages, but clearly it wasn't. And, you know, she had come in and her mom had come in, and there was attitude happening again, and things were happening, and it escalated to a point where this was not okay. There's a video, again, that video happened. My mother, who was having an extreme reaction. Do I condone my mom's reaction in that? I would have handled it better. Do I fault her for that reaction? No, because I wish Music Girl Pro would post that, like, feel free to post that entire clip. Very racist things were said, microaggressions were being thrown out, insulting my mom's accent, saying she speaks weird, saying nobody can understand her, saying she's not intelligent, things that are just inappropriate. My brother came to make sure that the situation didn't escalate. The mom freaks out and says, stop mean mugging my daughter, which was also a big microaggression. And then that was the decision. I told them, remove her from the event, kick her off. She is not allowed at LPScon. So Music Girl Pro did not leave LPScon. She was kicked out, and she has been the only person to ever be kicked out of LPScon. I'm not going to post a statement about it and just, like, fuel a fire that doesn't need to be fueled. I don't want to send her hate in any capacity. Again, the only reason I'm addressing this in this moment is because it's resurfacing, and she's coming back and saying things that are not true.
In regards to the AC issues, I just want to clarify there was AC, but from what I was told, it was better on the second and third floor. This is because the first floor doors were, like, left open, and on top of that, there was just a lot of people, which made the perfect recipe for it to get very, very hot inside. Another story about 2019 in particular I came across comes from user Tea with Birdie. Basically, in 2019, there was some sort of, like, LPScon art competition held, where the winner would be able to receive a prize at LPScon's banquet night. The user just mentioned, Bertie was the first place winner of this contest, but wondered how she'd be able to accept the prize when her ticket was a standard ticket, which meant she couldn't get access to the banquet, I believe. So she decided to DM the LPScon official Instagram account, and they basically began to tell her she had to upgrade her ticket. At the time, Bertie was 16 years old and barely saved up enough money for the LPScon ticket and other travel expenses. I don't know where specifically Bertie is from, but making a trip down to this con when you live in another country or even another state in the US can be quite costly. There's a lot of things that go into planning a trip, obviously, besides just buying a ticket to the convention you would be making the trip for. To me, it's impressive she could afford to make the trip because when I was 15-16, I used to beg my parents every year to attend VidCon and Playlist Live, but it would never happen because it was just an expensive trip to make. Fast forward now at 19 years old, I attended VidCon for the very first time this year and was only able to because I could afford to fully pay for the trip myself. And mind you, I live in California. I live 8 hours away from Anaheim, so I can't imagine how cost-worthy it would be coming from another state. With that being said, these DMs are pretty bizarre due to Bertie refusing to upgrade because she could not afford to do it, which is completely valid. They began to call her resilient and hostile and even claim she had an attitude, but when looking at these DMs, I honestly don't blame her. I would get frustrated too. I mean, Bertie makes a great point that it would be illegal anyway for them to make her pay for a prize for a contest that was addressed to the public. They also claim that Bertie was apparently the only standard ticket holder to enter the entire contest, which just does not make any sense, especially considering they actually have a mutual friend who also entered and I believe went to the convention with them. But if it wasn't specified that only people with that specific ticket package could enter the contest, then it's like I highly doubt that to be true. The three solutions that she ultimately was offered by LPScon ended up being getting a refund and just simply not attending the convention at all. Like I mentioned, a lot more goes into planning a trip like this besides the ticket, and the other expenses are usually non-refundable, and I'm pretty sure too that LPScon is non-refundable, like their tickets you can't get a refund unless there's like a special circumstance like in 2020. Being transparent here, I'm unsure if this is something that is new or newly implemented or if they've always been like non-refundable, but it makes me wonder how this refund would have even worked. Secondly, she could forfeit her win and they could just pick another winner because they didn't want to make an exception. And third, she could basically just suck it up and pay the $15 to upgrade her ticket, which she could not afford. Ultimately, Bertie had no idea what to do, turning to her friend's parents for advice, the same mutual friend I was talking about that they were saying like no standard ticket holders entered, but like her friend entered. So she talked to her friend's parents. Her dad suggested to leave it be and just deal with the situation at the con since it clearly the conversation wasn't going anywhere. Fast forward to the day Bertie arrives in Vegas and she receives a DM from LPScon simply saying, "Hello, it'll be okay for you to attend the banquet night and be awarded. See you tomorrow." What? I was upset, angry, crying, terrified that the host would argue with me in public or that I would get kicked out from the con and would have to stay in the hotel the whole time without getting my money back. I literally had no words because why couldn't this have been the solution from the beginning? At that point, I was nervous the whole con because I didn't want to do anything else to upset anyone and be kicked out. Receiving my prize at the banquet night terrified me even more. Now, what was the prize, you may be asking? It was a LPScon trophy, 2 raffle tickets valued at $10 each, a tote signed by all the VIPs, and a bag of LPS. The trophy and raffle tickets were very nice. The trophy is adorable and I still have it displayed to this day. The tote bag is also cute, however I had to go find all the VIPs and have them sign it, which I was fine with because I did get to chat with all of them a little. I was pretty excited about the bag of LPS and saw a few stores donated some decent pets. I expected to get at least one top 5 and maybe some okayish LPS. Here we can see Bertie notes the LPS were dirty and the prize included several McDonald's LPS. There was also a random piece of tile, possibly old expired candy, a half-used crumpled sticker page from a children's book, and some random erasers. Which to me just makes the situation even more infuriating. Like she went through all that stress and anxiety pre-LPScon about getting a prize she very much deserved. Bertie spent like 3 hours on this drawing. A lot of work went into this, and it wasn't just that she cared about some stupid prize. All of this just for this tickets to be the prize is pretty underwhelming in my opinion. Although Bertie loved the trophy and still has it displayed for this day, as well as the tote signed by the VIPs, she ultimately is very grateful but felt the presentation could have been better, which is very valid. Moving on to 2021, this is the year, in Nana's own words, she saw as a fail due to the venue being brought outside again and the downsizing that had to be done when it came to how many tickets were allowed to be sold due to the risk of COVID-19.
LPScon in person again in 2021. That was at Tahiti Village. Hot. We did accommodate for COVID, so we had the event back outside and we limited the number. Like, we stopped ticket sales. We weren't hosting like 900 people again. We only had 200 attendees. What was funny too is, like, I thought that event was such a bust because I was like, how did anybody even enjoy that event? It was so hot. The fans were just circulating hot air. Like, I was like, that's probably one of our biggest fail events. Literally, somebody at the 2024 event literally told me like that was their favorite event.
Though in all actuality, I couldn't tell you how many people attended this event and if there was an effort to actually downsize due to COVID, because she says in her video that 200 people were there. But then on the official LPScon Instagram account, they said they had a 400 people turnout. However, from the feedback she has received, 2021's LPScon is one that is looked back at fondly by those who attended, mainly due to the choice in venue, plus probably the downsizing helped the convention remain a lot less stressful and helped with overcrowding. The following year was pretty similar, but at a different venue. Daisy, one of the VIPs who attended in 2022, told me she felt the venue was arguably a better location versus the meet. The meet is the location that LPScon 2024 took place and has taken place a couple of times, and that's something I personally agree with too, due to it being a more family-friendly location, but also everything taking place on, like, in the same place because it was on one floor. This is a sentiment that Nana agrees with in her video too. I guess they had plans to demolish that space since it's not actually a proper event space. They just hosted it because they liked Nana and they liked LPScon. At least that was my understanding of it. I'm going to insert the clip for clarity because the way she explained it was kind of confusing, or maybe I'm just the one not understanding. I don't know.
And then 2022, I have to say, Tivoli Village was the best venue we've ever hosted in my personal opinion. Maybe like somebody who attended last will tell me like you're totally wrong, it's totally been meat. I don't know, but in my opinion, Tivoli was the best. And the reason why we don't host in Tivoli anymore is because literally begged and begged and begged for them to let us host there again, but they were convinced they did not want that event as a venue space. They only hosted it because they liked LPScon and they liked, I have a really good relationship with the city, like the city of Las Vegas, so they were only like, look, we like you and we like LPScon, that's the only reason we're hosting you. Other than that, we're destroying this place, it's getting demolished, this is not an event space.
With all that being said, on July 20th of 2024, LPScon would take place at the Meet in Las Vegas, which is the location where LPScon 2019 actually took place. Let's just start there, shall we? One of the problems with this year's event was overcrowding. When you search what's the capacity of the Meet Las Vegas, it says 300 seated guests. However, if you look at their website, it's apparently actually 615 guests for the first floor, in general, like standing. In LPScon's official apology, it was confirmed there were thousands of people there, therefore confirming the overcrowding that took place. In Gerrie Berrie's video where she talks about her LPScon experience, she mentions a mutual friend of hers, Hudson LPS, who got in before her with the content creation ticket and said they were already out of seats, meaning before general admission even got in, they had already gone over capacity. For context, one of the perks of the content creator ticket was you could get into the convention earlier, and in the past this meant you could get in like earlier in the morning, but for LPScon 2024 this meant that people could get in at 11 a.m. versus 1 p.m. Mind you, this was one of the hottest days of the year in Las Vegas in the summertime. Why would you push it even later? I'm just wondering who thought that was a good idea. But when I found out about this situation, something that immediately like popped into my head again, and something I think is odd and possibly contributed to the overcrowding, is the method they chose to advertise their tickets on their Instagram. I had personally wanted to try to go this year, and I saw back in January or December December that tickets were selling out and you had to get them by a certain date, or had till a certain date to actually buy tickets. But when revisiting their Instagram page, you know, researching about the con, I found that they were constantly doing this throughout the year. For example, there's a post from May 12th saying last call for tickets, but then on June 6th, they made a post saying roughly 60 content creator passes were still available and to get your tickets before they sold out. It seemed like in past years, the tickets had been cut off from being able to be purchased after a certain point to probably avoid this exact issue. But to me, the location of LPScon presents another serious issue. We have to remember LPScon is an all ages event targeted at children. No matter how many of us are adult collectors and still into LPS. I believe on the LPScon website, there was basically like a list of hotels they recommended you should stay in near the venue. Big thank you to Gerrie Berrie for sending me this screenshot. This is something she touched on in her video too and immediately had me concerned.
In that same realm, I want to talk about my biggest, hugest, I will never recover from this type of pet peeve that I had about this event. It's not even a pet peeve, like I'm genuinely disgusted about this. They recommended on the LPScon website that we stay at the Downtown Grand Hotel and Casino. This hotel was incredible. However, I am a grown woman. I can legally engage in any of the activities that were at the hotel and casino or that were at Fremont Street, which is extremely, extremely close to this hotel and the convention. It's literally right off Fremont Street. This, if you're not aware, is Fremont Street. Yeah, this is literally a clip I got coming from the convention. This is what I seen. I left the convention a little bit earlier than other people. I had personal friends of mine tell me that there was just topless women out there. Literally me, Zombie X Corn, and LPS Honey were coming back one night and there was somebody getting arrested right in front of our hotel door.
So let me just say, you know what area this venue is in? You know what else is near the venue? Fremont Street, which let me just say is not the best area, especially for children. One of the hotels suggested is literally the Golden Nugget, which is literally on Fremont Street itself. Another issue that correlates with the overcrowding issue is the lack of accessibility that LPScon had this year in particular. A lot of factors play into this, but I'll start out with the overcrowding. Able-bodied people who attended the event really found it hard to get around, so it had to have been even worse for people with mobility aids. And to make matters worse, the elevator actually didn't work, according to LPS Cobalt, who shared his experience on his YouTube channel, and is someone I actually spoke to. It was apparently working early in the day, but he guesses the combination of the heat and the amount of people using it resulted in it breaking down. Something else I also particularly noticed before I noticed that other people who were there definitely experienced this is the way this event was set up was absolutely not in favor of autistic people either. And like, I know there's quite a few of us in the community, myself included. LPS personally have been a special interest of mine for years. Just by hearing people's experiences, I know if I had been there, this would have absolutely been a nightmare for me, and I probably would have had to leave. It sounds like sensory hell. Another big problem was the staff and or security at this event. Apparently bags were not being checked properly or at all in a lot of cases, which is super dangerous considering, you know, we're in America, but also the fact that there are children at this event, so safety should always be the #1 priority. Security in general seemed to not be doing their jobs properly, with people who didn't have the content creator passes managing to get up to other floors anyways, because I guess they just were not checking badges. Another thing to note is typically when you're holding a convention that has featured guests people are attending for, so in this case the LPS VIPs, you want to provide security to look after them or monitor them so they're not like swarmed, but also just to make sure whatever events or meet and greets are happening go smoothly. However, the VIPs did not have any security helping them whatsoever. So for example, Keiki LPS, a friend and mutual of Puppy Lover 863, volunteered her time actually to help with the things she needed to get done and saw firsthand not only the stress Daisy was put under, but how there was nobody there to tell her where to stand or help her in general, which is such a safety hazard. Keiki LPS also attended LPScon 2018, which was the first year it was moved from the park, and recalled another example of this. Basically, LPS Tiptoe, another LPS tuber, was a VIP that year and had just barely like entered the parking lot, mind you. Then everyone basically just came running towards her, noticing she had arrived. At the time, LPScon, according to Keiki, had around 200 to 300 attendees, so on a much smaller scale from this year. But still, nevertheless, hundreds of people mobbing this featured creator is completely unsafe. And at this point, Nana was a child, this event was in its very early stages, but it's like, why would you not implement security with the VIPs after seeing that happen one time? Above all, the general consensus I've been hearing is that the security generally wasn't very friendly towards attendees. One specific instance that stood out to me comes from user Chic Love LPS. She's actually attended LPScon for several years, with this year being no different. Chic Love went to the convention with her boyfriend and her 2-year-old daughter. This is important to the story, and I'm just gonna go ahead and read her official story and or statement on what happened. Some issues I've experienced were with one of the LPScon staff members. As a mom, I have to be prepared for situations like this, and I was. I brought my own waters and snacks for my daughter, but wasn't allowed to bring them into the convention, I assume. My boyfriend tried to buy some food and beverages from the food trucks. He waited in line under the sun at 108 degrees. My daughter was so desperate because of the heat, crying for water. One of the employees of the food truck told him last minute as he was about to order that they'll be closed for 15 minutes, so basically he waited for nothing. Once I saw one of the staff members bringing out waters outside, I asked for a single water for my baby, and this specific staff member was so rude to me and told me waters are $1 each, not free. I didn't have cash at that moment. Fortunately, one of the staff members was so kind to us and took us to a cool room where my baby could stay fresh out of the heat and gave us water. Until this same staff member with the rude attitude told the lady that we were not allowed to be in there in a very, very, very rude tone. First of all, water was another huge issue at this convention. It was just not very accessible. There was supposed to be a no outside food or drink rule, but due to the negligence of the security when it came to checking bags, I assume, many people got food and drinks in anyway, from what I've heard at least. The price of water apparently depended on who you were speaking to. It ranged anywhere from 50 cents to $8, which is insanity. In LPS Honey's video speaking about her experience, specifically she recounts the time that she saw a girl actually pass out while waiting in line. She expected security to rush and go check on the girl, but instead it was one of the food truck workers who made sure she was okay.
Not only is it annoying, obviously, and incredibly hot, it is also a major health and safety risk. So much so that someone fainted in line waiting for their food. Now personally, I didn't witness this with my own eyes, but there are countless eyewitness testaments online, as well as my boyfriend who was there in line when it happened. There was a poor girl in line waiting for her food. She dropped something, bent over to pick it up, and completely fainted in the heat. Now, common sense, you would think security would rush over, help her, get her some water, take her inside, do whatever they can to reduce the risk that has just been posed by this poor girl fainting. But no, from what I've been told, it was actually an employee at one of the food trucks who rushed over to help, fanned her down, and kind of carried her out of the way, which is so unacceptable. This is a major health risk. Someone has literally fainted at LPScon because of the heat outside, because there is no shade, there are no fans outside, there is limited food and water. It is just crazy to me that such a big established event could have something like this happen.
Mind you, there were only 2 food trucks and they had to periodically keep shutting down. Due to the amount of orders, it was probably super demanding and stressful. And Chic Love's story confirms this, because when her boyfriend had finally got to the front of the line, they had to do exactly that. There should have definitely been inside catering. There has been in the past. I have no idea who made that decision for this year. But if they wanted to implement food trucks at this event, they should have had more than 2. I don't think 2 is realistically enough considering how many people were at this convention. Eventually, it did become, pretty apparent just how many people were fainting from the heat and lack of water and or food, so staff members just started handing out the water for free. But my god, it's appalling how this mother was treated. How and why would you deny a baby water? In Nana's video, she claims there were water fountains everywhere you go at the meet, but again, I'm unsure how true that is based on how many people struggled to get water to the point that some were fainting. I'm not saying she's lying. I definitely think that more problems could have contributed to people not finding the water fountains. If there were water fountains, obviously I was not there. I mean, overcrowding for one could have contributed to it on the first floor. If there's a lot of people, you could easily miss something like that. I know Eddie was saying that he was wandering the first floor and he genuinely could not find a single water fountain, and if there was one, he missed it.
If we do food trucks again, we're gonna make sure that the lines have shade. or there's a place to like maybe line up inside. Like there's misinformation that water was sold for $8 each. Why would water, sorry, I'm like, where does that come from? Water was not sold at the event for $8. That is crazy. That's like a scam and ridiculous. Water was sold for $1. And there's also water fountains at meet everywhere you go. So we have water fountains in the back and on every single level. So free water is accessible throughout the event.
And one more thing that I want to speak on that personally directly affected me was not being able to get water inside the event. I'm totally used to not eating at all during a convention day. That's fine. That's my own problem. But the thing with water is I absolutely hate buying water. I refuse to buy water unless I absolutely have to, because I think that it's a basic human right that everybody should have free access to. I literally could not find a drinking fountain in the entire space. If there was one, I have no idea where it was. I looked around for it on the first and the second floor. It was probably on the third floor where I never saw it. But why would there not be a drinking fountain in the main floor? I don't know. So since I could not find a drinking fountain, I finally decided to go out and buy water from a food truck.
When saying all this, I do have to stress though that I truly do feel bad for the staff. I think poor planning is to blame for all of this. It seems like a lot of the staff were family members of the CEO, Nana, which explains why they didn't have like an understanding of the convention they were putting on. From LPS Keiki's perspective as well, it didn't seem like there was enough direct communication with the staff, not like a walkie-talkie system they could turn to with questions. The staff of course had a general gist of what was happening or meant to get done, but when problems arose or they were unsure of something, they would just have to like leave whatever situation they were encountering and then come back with an answer. Before we move on, lastly, I will say I was sent a picture of a staff member allegedly shopping for guns while at the convention, which honestly had my jaw on the floor. According to my source that sent it to me, they reported this to LPScon. They're unsure about what happened with it, but once LPScon found out about this, they did spam them trying to get more information so they could investigate the matter. Now, I briefly mentioned the content creator ticket earlier, which goes for roughly $130. The website also says $99, but I believe that that was the early bird pricing for the tickets, which would increase in price as the time went on and the later you waited to get your ticket. But as you can see, the perks included things like trading, access to market, access to enter the raffle, access to games and events, access to participate in fashion show, early access, front of the line access to avoid long lines / get a head start in their own premium line, swag bags full of free LPS and goodies upon arrival, access to fountain lounge, access to workshops, access to autographs and pictures, and extra added perks. However, I think LPS Hudson explained this in his video best via a little diagram. The green shows things that are also included in the general admission ticket. So when you consider that, this ticket doesn't nearly have as many perks as you thought. And the reason for this isn't just because they decided to not include any perks and like overcharge. The reason this pretty much happened was a security issue, because nobody was there to check what badge you had, and so people were able to get away with doing a lot more than they paid for, which is completely unfair to the people who actually spent their money on that ticket. Why I'm bringing up this content creator ticket though is notice how one of the only exclusive perks is a swag bag. You must think, well, thankfully they didn't leave empty-handed, right? Well, no. The contents of these supposed swag bags is actually laughable. This video by user Jay's Pet Shop shows this best. You were simply lucky if you even got LPS in yours at all, let alone if you got a head and a body together. Hudson LPS got expired candy in his and cheap finger lights that could have easily been purchased at the dollar store.
Show it again. We got our goodie bags.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Little
we got
house.
a little house.
And I don't know what this is.
I don't know what that is, but
It's cute.
It's cute though. It's purple.
Yes. Oh, so clean.
Wow.
This is so
That
clean.
is so awesome. Next
Love
one.
this.
The rest is treats.
Oh, yeah.
It's a surprise, so I'm gonna just reach it. First up.
Oh, what's going on there?
It's fine.
All right.
What is this?
Hey, it works.
Another cool aspect of the idea of an LPS convention is that it isn't only an opportunity to meet people with your shared interests, but actually expand your collection. There's a specific vending ticket you can buy so you can sell LPS, or specifically sell your LPS customs, which is a super cool opportunity for both artists and fans alike. However, something that wasn't specified this year, I'm unsure about previous years, is the second and third floors were not available to the general public. Therefore, not everyone could access vendors' booths on those floors, limiting them. I spoke to user Mr. Crazy Ray, who was a vendor at LPScon 2024, and they said the experience was so overwhelming this year that they could not even leave his booth to like go get food or water. And even when they got the opportunity, it was like you can imagine how hard it was to get anywhere or know where anything was. As we touched on earlier, the convention seemed like a sensory nightmare, and it was, frankly. Ray said there was so much noise between the music, the videos on loop, and the loud ass microphone, which I've seen infamously talked about. Eventually, the music and videos volumes were turned down, I believe at request, but the microphone remained, and due to this, Ray's wife, Jay, actually got super overwhelmed and ended up passing out a couple of times behind their booth. On the topic of music, that was something Gerrie Berrie touched on in her video too. She specifically mentioned the song Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar was playing uncensored at a convention targeted at kids. Really? At full volume, mind you? And the last thing I wanted to cover before getting into the aftermath is the raffle. Basic Fun was generous enough to give LPScon 3 of the Comic-Con exclusive dragons to give away at the event. There were other prizes too, like the Comic-Con cat was another big one, so this raffle had a lot of people excited and it was a pretty big deal. When I initially heard about this raffle, I assumed it would be free, but if they were charging, I honestly thought it would be no more than $3 to $5. However, that was not the case. The raffle tickets costed $10 per person. Mind you, from my understanding, there were separate bags for each of these bigger items, so like one for the red dragon, one for the Comic-Con cat, etc. So it wasn't just $10, it was like $10 per bag for each one you wanted to put a ticket in. Either way, just $10 to enter is quite outrageous to me. In Nana's video, she states initially she was going to have the raffle be priced at $5, but last minute decided to raise it to $10. The message that was echoed throughout this whole video is you don't know what it's like to run a business. And you're right, I don't. But why aren't you just explaining what made you change it from $5 to $10? Why couldn't there have been a limit on how many tickets you could buy? Please enlighten us. That's why I watched the video, to hear your perspective as a CEO.
And in terms of like having separate baskets, I think that was important to have because Comic-Con cat raffle tickets, like they can't be $5 because the retail price of a Comic-Con cat is $1,000, you know? So we do have to consider that. I had the dragons this year that I did get from Basic Fun, and they did send me the dragons. They had requested that our dragons do either go as a giveaway or in our raffle. That was what was communicated to me. They didn't tell me like pricing and stuff. The pricing, the $10 raffle ticket was all LPScon pricing, and the reason I kept it the same was because before, you can ask, I believe like I was communicating with the VIPs about this before, my decision was going to be $5 a ticket for the dragons because there was a lot of controversy about the dragons and there was a launch and it was very sensitive. But again, the reason I decided to be a CEO and executively make a decision that would change this is because not everybody knows what it's like to run an event. And what I was seeing, this would cause like too many people to like overbuy like raffle tickets in high quantities. And at first I was like, let me put a cap at 15 tickets. But then our booth got so messy. I should not have done this, like the cap thing. I thought it was such a good idea. Like, let me like put different prices, like dragons are this, cat is this, main basket is this, and then we're gonna have a cap at, no. It got so confusing. I literally had to shut the booth down and literally sit my parents down and be like, explain to them for like 20 minutes, this is how we do it. And it was so confusing. Like the attendees were confused. It caused a lot of commotion. The price varying and the differences and the cap of the tickets were too, it was so much jumble that I had to make the executive decision to be like, you know, block out the noise, whatever people are saying, we just have to keep it at a certain price because this is too much. That goes into owning a company. Sometimes you have to make decisions that not everybody understands. Not everybody understands in the moment, but you have to make those decisions for, like, one, the safety of your event, the structure of your event, and like just for the general experience, because I'd rather have, you know, like someone be, you know, don't buy the raffle tickets rather than, you know, so much commotion happening over price and then somebody feeling scams because it's like the prices don't add up.
Toward the end of like talking about this specific topic, she says she'd rather see people saying don't buy the raffle tickets than people feeling scammed. But I feel like a lot of people still ended up feeling scammed. I think it's a different story if you actually won something from the raffle, because obviously then your money ended up being well spent, so it's all okay. And I'm honestly happy for all the people that won, came out of this with something. But some of the things Gerrie said they were like auctioning off towards the end were absolutely not worth $10. And what I mean by like at the end was there was actually one bag that was like for all this stuff they had on the table, and Gerrie actually thought that meant that it was like you would win everything on the table, but they were auctioning off each individual item, so that everyone basically had to stand there for a really long time as they like gave everyone everything. I don't know. This is not the most serious issue that happened at LPScon. Obviously there were way more serious issues that put people in danger, but I did want to mention it because a lot of people had big expectations for this. And circling back to the Comic-Con dragons, let's talk about that specifically. Basic Fun was kind enough to gift LPScon a total of 6 of the Comic-Con dragons, meaning 2 of each color. There was one red one green one, and I believe one gold one. So 2 of each color of those dragons. And being that they got these for free, I'm assuming, these came with some guidelines, of course. The rules that were strictly given were to give away the dragons or include them in their raffle. One of the sources I spoke to, who is going to remain anonymous, was informed about the number of dragons since they were a part of the LPS ambassador team. However, they noticed when LPScon made the giveaway announcement publicly, there was only going to be 3 of the dragons raffled off and 1 dragon given away for free. That meant that 2 of the dragons given to Nana for LPScon were unaccounted for. So this person contacted Basic Fun about this, like what seemed withholding of these dragons. And they were informed that this was not their plan at all when they supplied the convention with these dragons, and that they were going to speak to LPScon about it. Following this interaction, LPScon would change the giveaway to include all 6 dragons, with 1 being given away for free. So what this pretty much implies, or looks like, is Nana was trying to keep 2 of the Comic-Con dragons for herself, which is pretty unprofessional. I understand as the CEO, you are probably a huge fan of LPS yourself, but when specific guidelines are given to you about, you know, free products you are provided with to give away at your convention, why would you try to take them for yourself? Again, this is obviously not the biggest problem that happened at LPScon, however, it was something that got the community really excited for LPScon. And looking back at it, this was honestly a pretty unique opportunity for the community, considering not everyone has the chance to attend San Diego Comic-Con, where these dragons were exclusively sold. It's the same reason why the LPScon cat is very, very hard to find. The LPScon cat is literally my dream LPS, but with so many fakes online, I've pretty much accepted the fact that I will probably never have her as a part of my collection. But let me know how you feel about the raffle in the comments though. To me, it's just another thing that makes this situation look even more sketchy, especially seeing how some of the dragons were withheld at first for reasons we do not know. Anyway, LPScon ended and people shortly began starting to share their experiences, specifically in the LPS Instagram community and then eventually on LPSTube as well. This inspired a conversation not only about LPScon this year, but a conversation about past experiences people had with LPScon, because people felt like they could finally share those experiences with the community. And boy, were those experiences just as telling. Again, it shows us that there has always been problems. This caused the CEO, I assume, to turn off the comments on several of the posts on the official LPScon account, including the official statement, which was made and I will put on screen now. This statement rubs me the wrong way for several reasons, but above all, I just don't see any like accountability being taken. I think the beginning mentioning this all started with a dream when I was 13 comes off even like a bit manipulative. As I said, I do think it's a really sweet story, and it's super cool that something that started so small has been able to expand into this one-of-a-kind event for the community to come together. I just think there's a time and place, and right now is not that time or place. It's the same reason that Nana's video on the situation comes off weird to me as well. There's so much, you don't know what it's like to run a business, and not enough, I'm sorry for my negligence as a business owner that put the community's safety at risk. I think two things can be true at the same time, and technical business things could have been explained in the process of holding yourself accountable. In fact, it can actually be just as important to be transparent going forward about the business side of things to avoid future mistakes. But at the same time, you can do that while actively, again, holding yourself accountable for the things that went wrong this year. First and foremost, an apology should have been issued to those who attended and were affected by the issues at this year's con in this statement. The fact that there isn't a single sorry in this entire statement is honestly so disheartening to me, because this is such a wonderful community that I have so much respect for. As someone who calls this space a safe haven, you should really know that best. Something that did stand out in this statement, however, was that they wanted to hear people's feedback. In fact, the LPScon account began reaching out to those who shared their LPScon 2024 experiences, saying they'd want them to talk to their CEO so they can make sure they get their feedback and improve the convention next year. Some people agreed, but a lot of people ended up refraining from engaging in the conversation any further with the CEO when LPScon decided to release another statement, even worse than the last one. And I want to give a bit of a trigger warning for suicide self-harm, because they were essentially in this statement blaming people who had bad con experiences for if somebody on their team hurt themselves. I'm going to put it on the screen now. Feel free to pause to read, and thank you again to Hudson LPS for sending me these screenshots. In particular, the quote of, "If a member of our team chooses to do something drastic due to the words and threats they have been receiving, it will be on the community's hands," is an insane thing to say. And your caption of, "We understand this is not a typical corporate response," is absolutely correct. Once again, I do not condone the harassment or bullying of anyone on the LPScon team, and I have no idea of what extent of threats were actually sent their way following LPScon 2024. But if that is the case, I am so genuinely sorry. However, the majority of this community has done nothing but voice their frustrations and opinions on what was a very dangerous situation they were put in. Almost every post I saw and every single person I spoke to while researching LPScon highlighted positive experiences still from this convention, no matter what the year, while still holding LPScon accountable for the mistakes that they clearly made. I actually think people could have chosen to be even more mean, but it just speaks to the type of people that are a part of the LPS community. Something that caught my eye in this statement as well is I'm just unsure as to what photoshopped screenshots are in question. Everything I've personally come across and seen has been backed up with proof, and I think those people had every right to share their experiences. Everything that wasn't backed up by proof and was alleged is really backed up by the amount of people who shared similar experiences at the convention. The point is, seeing these stories, some that date as far back as 2019-2018, says a lot about the CEO's character to me. But it also shows us there's always been problems, just nothing on the scale of what happened this year. My personal opinion is that after seeing and listening to all the stories I would not spend the money or waste my time going to LPScon in the future, which breaks my heart to say, because before I found out about this situation, I was gonna hopefully try to make it out next year, since since I'm like not that far away. And the thing is, I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I truly hope that they will take proper accountability. I hope that they issue a proper apology to the community because it's what they deserve. And most of all, I hope these mistakes are learned from, and something like this is just never allowed to happen again. I forget who said this because I watched a lot of people's videos like talking about their experiences. My brain is soup. But in one person's video that I watched explaining their experience, something along the lines of "you have to grow with it" was said in regards to Nana starting LPScon at such a young age, and that's something I could not agree more with. Birdie, that I spoke about earlier, when that situation occurred, was the same age as Nana, but even then felt sympathy for her, stating the following: "The 2019 situation put a lot of stress on me, but I do have some sympathy for the owner as she was the same age as me, seemingly managing the major parts of a business on her own. I know she was probably stressed out and maybe didn't know how to handle this situation. I don't know if her parents had a part in what was said to me or not. Although she was 16, I thought she would maybe have some basic business communication skills, like how to talk to people formally and not blame customers for being rightfully angry. We were both 16 at the time of this issue, and she talked to me like I was a child. Now that the owner is an adult and has been one for previous cons, I believe it is fair to hold her accountable for the actions she did at this recent con. She did some awful things and has still not addressed those concerns. That is messed up. Her most recent post blaming the community if something happens is outrageous. All the LPS community wants is a safe place to meet with others of the same interests. We want someone who actually shows they care about this community and treats them with respect as they would do with her. LPScon could have been so amazing if things were done correctly." If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening, and massive shout out to everyone who let me include their stories in this video or provided me with more information in DMs. You guys are arguably what made this video possible, and I will never know what the experience was like as I was never there. However, knowing mutuals of mine were put in or could have been put in unsafe and stressful situations due to negligence made this very important for me to talk about. I have such a special place in my heart for the LPS community, and the idea of a convention for us all to get together is such a beautiful idea. I would like to take the time to shout out several LPS meetup opportunities I stumbled across while researching. Hopefully we can learn from LPScon and provide safer environments for the community to be able to still get together. But also, not everyone is able to necessarily make the Vegas trip. Not everyone is even in America. So I say the more local meet and greets, the better, as long as things are of course being handled accordingly behind the scenes to ensure the safety of attendees. I don't see any problem with more LPS convention opportunities. Once again, I do not condone the harassment of anybody on the LPScon team. Please instead use your time to uplift the community during this time, specifically the LPS VIPs who still managed to turn a negative into a positive. As always, thank you so much to my patrons for your support. My smile video is already filmed and is being edited as we speak. I actually filmed a get ready with me for that video of my makeup I did, and you guys will also be getting early access as always. I did that after my live stream, which was a total fail, but I will still be covering the Brad's Kids Sleepover Adventure this month after Smile. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the LPScon situation in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video.